Happy Friday and good morning. Thank you for listening in today. My name is Frances Esters, also known as the Elegant Tomboy, and I am so excited to be here today to introduce my new show, Creating Health. We'll be here every Friday talking about all the things that have to do with health. But before we launch that first official episode next week, I wanted to take some time today to share a little bit about me and my inspiration for starting this show. So, I have been working in the beauty industry for 20 years now, and I've watched so many trends come and go, so many celebrities, influencers, whatever you want to call them, that have come, made their mark, and left, right? And I've also watched how these trends and these celebrities have just caused enormous amount of stress and bring out the worst in people. And throughout history, there's always been this idealized standard or concept of what beauty meant and whether it was for the human body, for art, for architecture, literature, whatever it was. Those that attained the most out of all of these ideals were deemed successful. And I think that in our modern society, that these idolized concepts have become unattainable and, well, some are just outright absurd. I grew up as the youngest and the only girl, and I was not a girly girl, much to my mom's chagrin. I wanted to play with the boys. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be rough and tumble. I wanted to play baseball on the gravel street barefoot like they were. I knew how to work on cars and apply Bondo long before I knew how to apply makeup. And now looking back, I really appreciate how much I didn't get subjected to all of the marketing and the expectations of what it meant to be a girl or to be on trend and to be working towards that aspiration of growing up to be the perfect woman. I mean, I really didn't care about clothes. As long as they allowed me to be outside and to play, I hated getting dressed up and putting on dresses and being a proper girl. I think that you're starting to get a little bit of an idea of where that tomboy part is coming into play, right? So, were there times that being a tomboy would kind of get to me? Kind of. I remember in 6th grade, we had our graduation, and we were kind of expected to be more dressed up than we typically were. And my closet was not filled with dresses and pretty girl clothes. So I, put together an outfit, and I remember it very clearly. It was kind of a little flared cotton blue skirt, a pink V-neck sweater, and some strappy black sandals. And yeah, I did the cardinal sin. I wore socks with those sandals because it was in the morning and it was cold, and I didn't want to be cold because it was bad enough I had to wear a skirt. I was wearing my socks. And I got to school, and there were two of the popular girls, and they both had older sisters, and they were wearing formal evening gowns, and I think that they were actually prom dresses from their sisters, and they had the matching heels, the makeup, the hair. I mean, it was all done. And one of the boys in my class, I could not tell you his name, but I remember him very specifically coming up to me and kind of pointing down at my socked feet in my sandals, saying, "You're supposed to be dressed like that." And, for about a minute, I looked at everybody else and started to feel almost embarrassed until I realized, those girls are not comfortable at all. They're wearing heels. They're not used to wearing heels. We were in 6th grade, for God's sake. And it was all, even then, it was trying to play that part, right? And wanting to feel like we were more mature and older than what we were. And I realized, I really just don't care. Look at how uncomfortable they are. I'm uncomfortable just from the fact that I'm wearing a skirt, and I hate it. But I could still move, and I could sit, and I could walk and do everything and not worry about it. And that moment just solidified. I was an unapologetic, all-out tomboy. It was all just so foreign. Why? Why would you be so caught up in all of that? There's just so much more I'd rather be doing and concentrating on. And what made that all the more comical, especially as I grew up, it just became more and more funny for me because when I was a freshman in high school, the youngest of my three brothers was a senior. And my brothers were notorious. They were the cool kids. And, the oldest was the epitome of GQ. He had the dark hair, the blue eyes. I mean, this is the 80s and 90s, right? High school was in 90s for me, but he had that perfect swoop bangs. There's the whole surfer vibe that was going on back then, and he nailed it, right? The middle brother was the jock. He was the manly man. He was the more gruff of them, but he was the jock. And then the youngest of the three was the charming, smart one that the girls just went, ah, they just loved him so much. And all of them in their own ways were very Gaston-esque, if you will. And then there was there was me coming in, right? And I gave not one you know what about how I looked, or for that matter, what you thought about me. I didn't care. It was not about being popular. It was not about, ooh, look at me. I just did my thing. And I think that now, when I look back at it, that served me very well in my adult years because it allowed me to not fall victim to other people's opinions. And I think that's something that we all struggle with at one point in our lives, and even me. I mean, there has been times where I have fallen to that, but for the most part, being more in my masculine, if you will, has kept me from falling into a lot of the traps that I think that especially women, especially younger women, fall into. So let's fast forward a whole lot of time to 2004 when my then sister-in-law landed an interview for me at a day spa for an assistant management position. And how I got that job still baffles me because let me tell you, I did not in any way, shape, or form look the part of a spa manager or a spa employee for that matter. My skin was still breaking out from acne. I did not have the perfect coiffed hair, and I had zero product knowledge. But I did have, by that point, several years of sales experience, and I loved talking with people. And, that really is what made up for what I so obviously lacked for being in that environment. And, Joanne, if you're hearing this, I will never be able to thank you enough for helping me get that job because that job transformed who I was in so many ways. When I said it was a life-changing job, I mean that. My mom did not teach me how to take care of my skin because when she was raised, they had cold cream and a washcloth. I mean, really, what else did you need? You wipe the makeup off, you go to bed, you start over again. And she really didn't need to wear makeup. She wore mascara. She pouted a little bit of loose powder on her nose so she didn't have the shine, a little bit of lipstick, and she was done. So that was not anything that was ever taught to me. So this job was really, really eye-opening to me, to all of the things that most girls are exposed to all of their lives. Like, I had no idea there were so many products to use for your skin, for your hair, and your nails. I also had no idea how crazy expensive some of this stuff was and how many women were willing to spend the money to buy it. When I first saw caviar in your shampoo and your conditioner, what? Caviar? Where are we at right now? It was just overwhelming, and I was lost. And what ultimately saved me is my love to learn and to read. I hid a lot from clients in my first months in that job because I was clueless. I didn't know what those products were, how to use them. I mean, I just was finding out that they even existed. And when the days I was there, my district manager, her name was Kat, she came in and she's like, I noticed that you're kind of hiding from customers, and you need to be working with their clients, especially as a manager. You need to be showing the other employees by example. And I was like, I just don't know how to work with a lot of these products. I just don't know what they are. And she looked at me and she was dead serious. And she's like, well, honey, all you got to do is, she took me over to a skincare line. She's like, see how it says acne or hydrating? She's like, just read the label. So, they're going to come in and they're going to say, this is my issue. You're going to look at the shelves and you're going to find the ones with the words for what they're saying that they need help with. And that's what you're going to sell them. And I looked at her, and part of me was like, oh, that makes sense. That's a great way to, fake it until I know it. But at the same time, I was like, God, but are you really serious? How is that really helping our clients? I mean, I'm just straight up guessing at that point. And am I really giving them what they need? And this stuff was not cheap, my friends, not cheap. So I started reading everything and anything I could to stop feeling like a fraud. And every rep that came in, you better believe I made them earn their money that day, because I picked their brain for everything they knew. I'm like, teach me everything about your brand. Teach me all about your products. What classes do you have? What do you have that you can give me that I can read? I signed up for every single class that I could. And before I knew it, I fell in love with skincare, because I started to understand that it went far beyond trying to look pretty, because your skin is the first thing that you see, and it's the first thing that other people see. And, growing up with acne and struggling with that, I mean, I got it. I knew how it was to be judged very topically on what you looked like. So getting that deeper understanding of what skincare could do and to change was just very, very powerful to me. And I learned so much from that job. And one of the days that I will forever have emblazoned in my mind was this woman walked in, and she was in this most amazing all pink outfit. She was pink from head to toe. And one thing you'll learn as you listen to me more, I hate pink. I've hated pink all my life because it's really girly, and there's really not that much in me that's girly. But she came in and I was like, damn, look at her. I mean, it was a simple sweat outfit, right? But she was on point. And I was just so impressed. So that's what it's like to be comfortable and be stylish and just be on point. And she walked up, and it turns out she wanted to hand in her resume. And she had a really impressive resume, and it ended up landing her the job. And she was hired on to be a nail tech and an esthetician. And that woman was Nina Borello. And to this day, she is a huge part of my life. She has been my friend now for 20 years. And I will never forget the day that she walked in and the impression that her presence left on me. And Nina took me under her wing and started helping me walk out of my tomboy shell. She, that's the big joke, is that she's the one who actually really helped teach me how to be a girl and to embrace it and not just um, kind of walk away from it, from a lack of a better way of saying it, just because it's so much easier not being a girl. And I think every woman on here that's listening right now will understand that. I mean, it's effort, guys. It's effort. But the staff above and beyond Nina as well, they all adopted me. I mean, I had two estheticians who battled over who was going to clear my acne. I mean, I knew what a facial was. I had never had one. I did not have a bathroom full of products. I had a bar of soap. I didn't know what a moisturizer was. Again, I knew they were out there. I didn't know how to use any of it. And so I went from, not doing anything to having an hour facial weekly, trying to figure out how to get my skin under control. And I mean, that was valuable in so many experiences in and of itself. And we'll talk more. And Nina, I promise you, even though she might not realize it yet, she'll be a regular on this show, because there's so many Nina stories that I could tell you, and vice versa, that Nina could tell you about me. And more importantly, both of us, we've gone through our own struggles with self-care and our health, and we're very passionate, and we could talk for hours and hours and hours about these subjects. So she'll be on, so I won't give all those stories away today. This job is also where I learned many heartbreaking stories from our clients who struggled with feeling they were not good enough because they didn't look a certain way. The spa was in San Jose, and we're in California, and San Jose is the heart of Silicon Valley. And that was really when it was really blowing up. And so there was a lot of pressure to live to this lifestyle that was rapidly becoming the norm for the area. And so many were coming in and buying products that was just helping them keep up a facade. So they were fitting in still, even as adults. And it wasn't because these products were actually what they needed or necessarily even what they wanted. It was just what they felt they were supposed to get. And that really helped push me to learn even quicker how to properly identify products that really would help fix the problem that our clients were coming in with, right? Because whether it was acne for themselves as an adult, if it was acne for their children, if it was hyperpigmentation issue, I could go on and on and on. Bottom line, they were coming in because they had something that was making them feel not good about who they were. And as I learned how to properly identify the products to get results, I learned there was no better high for me than to have a mom come back in with their teenager who had been battling acne and see that kid who came in with their head down, embarrassed because, well, mom's taking me somewhere because my skin's so bad. And they already feel bad about having that skin. And now they're coming in and they're smiling and their heads held high and they're confident again because they no longer felt that they needed to hide their face. And, having women come back in because she finally loved who she saw in the mirror, not just what she saw, is the most amazing gift. I cannot stress that enough. To help someone love who they are so they can walk their purpose is the best feeling in the world. And as I learned more and more, and I could help more clients get their confidence, either get it back or for the first time, I knew I had found my purpose. Somehow I needed to continue to learn so that I could embrace my feminine side. I could learn to not just hide behind my tomboy persona that I had created for myself, that I could find a way to embrace being kind of girly girl, right? And make it my own and really embrace that and not feel scared about losing my identity in the beauty industry because it's just so easily to get wrapped up in it, right? So somehow I needed to learn who I was in totality so that I could help others do the same. And to this day, that is my drive. This is my purpose. This is my biggest inspiration for creating health for this show. It is dedicated to uncovering all of the definitions of what health is and what it means to really live a healthy, happy life, because physical health is but one part of truly living a healthy life. The saying, be healthy, wealthy, and wise starts with healthy for a reason. Health is all encompassing. Health is mental, it's spiritual, financial, physical, and each one of those have their own subcategories. And we could spend years doing shows just talking about all of the complexities of that. And in humans, we are complex. And yes, we should never overcomplicate anything in life, right? Why add more stress and layers to everything that we have to deal with in the day? But at the same time, we can't underplay those complexities because that's what makes us who we are. And hey, I'm a Libra, so my life is about bringing balance to everybody and, being indecisive, but I guess they play hand in hand, right? But, uh, you know, I humbly ask you that you join me on this journey of discovering the very many definitions of health. I challenge you to listen in and put your own health as priority, because being healthy is not always easy, but the basic foundational stepping stones are very simple to achieve. It's just about believing in yourself and loving yourself enough to want to build that foundation. Because at the end of the day, are you like so many of us who are struggling with the questions of what does healthy living really mean? I mean, how do you realistically implement a plan that I want to do and that I want to be consistent with? And beyond that, where do I even start? Well, my friends, those are all great questions, and I'm going to do my best to help you find answers. Life has blessed me many times by bringing amazing people into my life that have taught me so much about the hardest topics of life. And I am thankful for Michelle and Fred McMurray, who brought me this amazing platform to be of service. And you will hear me talk more about them. And just like Nina, they may not realize it yet, but they also will be guests because they own Westvine Media, and they can be of great help to your business's health. And that's, one of those many facets, right? We all have to work for a living, whether we want to or not. And we'll dive into that at a later date as well. But for now, I think that you've listened to enough of my babbling for the day. And thank you for sticking with me. And I look forward to sharing with you here every Friday. We'll start at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And you'll hear me. I always sign off with telling you carpe diem. But today, before I sign off, I just want to share a little bit more about that. We are taught that means seize the day. But carpe diem actually has roots in agriculture. And direct translations really would come back to when the fruit is ripe, pluck it. And that kind of over time got simplified to when you see an opportunity to grab it. And then that has been simplified down to seize the day. So I leave you today, and I ask you to keep your eyes and your hearts open to opportunities that are placed in front of you. Because whether we want to think about it or admit it or acknowledge it, there are many opportunities that come in a 1,000 different packages that we may be afraid to see that beautiful fruit hanging in front of our face, and we're just not willing to reach up and to grab it, right? And if you have some of those opportunities that are sitting in front of you today, and maybe you've been really kind of looking for a sign, well, here's your sign. Pluck it. We only live one life. We get one chance, and we only get so many swings at being up at bat, right? So grab it, live, know that you are cared for, that you are loved, and that you are worthy, and that your health means so much more than we tend to give it credit for. So until next week, my friends, carpe diem.